All right, ladies. Happy Wednesday, wealthy Wednesday. Hope you're doing exceptionally well. I am back from my own little mini retreat. It was the best thing I could have ever done for myself. I think you guys, most of you ladies, saw the video that I shared talking about the 3 different types of entrepreneurs and the 6 areas that you want to be focused on. And I'm actually going to come in probably on Friday and do another training. And that information that I got a download of, I believe will support you as you're making some decisions about resetting yourself, getting back into your power and moving into your next level. And so as with every single Wednesday, today we have an opportunity to meet with Trish Causey. I think that's how you say her last name. And we're going to be talking about your sexual power and what does it really mean to activate that so that you can attract in and receive the very thing that you want at a much deeper, richer level. So she'll be joining us shortly. Let me see if she's even nearby. She's not there yet. Okay. So while I'm here, I thought I'd talk to you for just a little bit and share a little bit more about that experience being away. I, like I said at that video, so believe with everything that's going on, there's a lot of energy that's probably keeping most of us disconnected, out of balance, not feeling really good. And our emotions are up and down and back and forth. And all these different kinds of emotions are going on. And if you had an opportunity to watch my interview with Tara Grace last week, and then actually every single interview has been phenomenal. And if you haven't done that, I highly want to recommend that you take some time out of your busy schedule to at least, once a week, if not once a day, go to the videos area right here. I think it's on your right, my left, and then all the videos there. What I just learned about units, so I'll probably go into the group and actually put each of the videos in a unit so it's a lot easier for you to follow and to get that kind of support. And we'll have some more amazing women that I'm going to be bringing into this group to really support you as we continue to heal, step into our power, and make the kind of decisions we need to make very powerfully. The other thing that's really important that I want to share with you is I actually want to do a community group clearing session. I went through that with my coach while I was on my retreat, and it was one of the best things I could have ever done. And then, of course, having another Reiki session. So I want to be able to gift that to you. But in order for me to do that, with my coach, his name is Jimmy Mack, I have to pay for that session. I'm willing to do it to support the group. But there has to be at least 15 women on the call. And the reason being we say 15, at least 10 to 15, is that the energy of the group intensifies what happens. I've done these sessions with Jimmy many, many, many times. I've known Jimmy for years now, probably like 8-9 years. And every single session we've done, something powerful happens to the community and to different individuals. And then they go off and have their own individual sessions with Jimmy and continue the journey of evolving into their next level. And then I'm working with 2 women right now. I'm having a conversation who I think would be fantastic, and having them come in and do Reiki, actually help us to continue to keep our energy and our vibration at a really high level as we are moving into this third quarter of the year, and then moving into the last quarter, which I think is going to be a lot more intense. So we want to get ourselves as grounded as we possibly can. And I can't tell you how many conversations I'm having with people who are confirming what I'm tapping into, that if there's ever a time, June, July, and August, for all of us to be profoundly clear about who we are, where we're going next, and having the strategic plan and having the right inner circle, the right team around you to support you in making this a reality, and so that you can accomplish and get the results that you want, particularly during the last quarter and the first quarter of 2021, then this is the time to do it. So I'll be coming in and doing a little bit more training and helping you make that happen, and even offering you an opportunity to be consistent, to power her influence is really the name of the program. And I'm just magnified in love with it. And I really believe very, very clearly the download that I got and what I'm feeling in my own spirit, that program is going to shift women's lives and help them position themselves to move into their next level, particularly in an area of finances, because we're going to deal with your money story. We're going to clear out a lot of stuff that's holding you back. And then we're going to position more women to become influencers in their life, as well as in your business, and your brand, your message, and your business. I don't care if you are a service-based person or if you are a product-based person. It's time for us as women of all backgrounds, all experiences, to really step into becoming influential and making a much bigger impact like never before. And the only way to do that is to shore up your foundation, to make sure that you're profoundly grounded and confident and clear and excited and turned on and vibrationally and energetically having a high frequency, so that you're in your feminine energy magnetizing these things in on a regular basis, and so that you can have the kind of success that you want. And so that's what's so powerful and so crucial to your stepping into your next level. Trish, I know you're there. I'll be with you in a moment. And so my heart is that you would make this a priority for yourself, that you would make your healing and your evolution and your next step a priority, so that you can have the kind of success. This is another reason why we did this. We're doing this retreat taking place June the 28th through the 30th, where you can reset the way you're thinking, the way you're feeling, do a lot of clearing. That's one of the things that I will be leading you through, is a very powerful, impactful clearing session, telling you, here are the products that I use to help you reset your body, reset your soul and your spirit, so that you can get into alignment and receive the very things that you want for yourself. So if you haven't had a chance to look at it, I'm sure if you just scroll down below, if you look in the announcement areas or go to my personal page, there's a link to the retreat, so that you can actually be a part of that opportunity. And we changed the price point to $97 because we really want this to be about you getting your power back, resetting every aspect of who you are, so that you can move into your next level. I'm going to say that over and over again because there has been so much. We've all been out of alignment. We've been pulled to the hilt degree, if you will. And so if there's ever a time to get back in alignment and being in a community, a safe, sacred, beautiful, intentional space to support you in making this your reality, this is the time to do it. All right, with that being said, thank you for taking time and listening to that, and let me bring on Trish.
Can you hear me now?
I can now hear you.
Awesome.
Any chance, do you have any light that you can put in front of you so they can see your gorgeous face?
Oh, well, thank you. This is about all I have right here. So
so can you take the top part off?
Yeah.
And the only reason why is because she's got a gorgeous face and you guys need to see it.
No, you don't.
There you go.
Oh my gosh.
Don't burn yourself while you're doing it.
Yeah. Well, are we live right now?
We are live.
We are live. Okay. Well, here's the thing, and this is actually why can I do that? Yeah, I can. All right. Is that I am moving into a new apartment that I love so much. I've been traveling around the country for 3 years, and I made the conscious choice to do it here in my new apartment simply because this is new. And I think a lot of women are in this spot. You see my junk behind me, the stuff that I've been dragging. No, it's been in a storage unit. So, I mean, there are just so many, as I burn my fingers, there are just so many lessons in this right here that I thought would be really cool to elaborate on, to show.
But see, what a difference. Hopefully you don't go blind. But
illumination. Oh, thank you. But it was just right on. That it's a new space. A lot of women are in this new space right now of how do we navigate this thing right now? What are we bringing with us that maybe we've been dragging along with us since we were 13? What are we bringing with us that we are dragging around lifetime to lifetime? If you subscribe to the notion of past lives, and I do. So I just thought if you'll allow me, let's do this really raw and not with fancy lighting, because I love my ring light. But this is what's real, and this is what we're all going through right now, I think.
Well, I appreciate you're willing to play with me on my show because I one of the reasons why I did this, and I think all of you ladies know this, is that I think there's so many brilliant women out here that I'm connected to. And many of them don't get an opportunity to be seen and to be heard. And I've been very blessed that I get to be seen and heard on a regular basis. I'm asked to be on podcasts and summits and events on a regular basis, almost at the beginning of all this, it was weekly. I was burning my own self out because I was like, okay, my mouth hurts. I'm talking a great deal. Now it's not as much, and I'm grateful because I needed a little bit of a space. But what's coming in the future, I do have quite a few speaking opportunities on some pretty large virtual stages. And so I have met women like Trish and just said, well, if they're not going to put these women on the stage, I'll do it myself, because y'all know me. I will figure it out and say I can do it myself. And my mother says I would have always been like that, even as a little girl. I couldn't swim, but I jumped in the pool thinking, well, I can do it too. And I think that's why I've accomplished as much as I've accomplished. So I appreciate your willingness to go there, because I see the beauty in another woman. I see the power. I see the evolution that you've gone through, and that needs to be highlighted. And so, how many people have ever seen an ugly redheaded woman? Never. They're all gorgeous. Every redheaded woman I've ever met is gorgeous. And Trish is
because we have a nice layer of fat that plumps up our skin and keeps us.
Why do we do that? Why do we wait? Okay.
I love it, but I really had to love it. I really had to embrace it and love it, though, because being a ginger, I was ridiculed. Oh my God, horribly. I was told to kill myself every single day because of my coloring when I was a kid. Yeah. You're so ugly, they would call me, my name is Patricia, so Fat Pat and Fatty Patty. When we studied World War II in 5th grade, they took my last name and said, hey, kamikaze, why don't you go jump in a plane and kill yourself? And it was just like, and I'm just like, I'm 9. What did I do? Yeah. And it's just because of the way I look. And so, no, I love my curves. And this goes to, and you're right, but this goes to food issues, food scarcity as a kid, my mother's food issues, using food to numb pain. So of course, after I had my daughter, went through postpartum depression, I had a binge eating disorder. And it was at my heaviest weight that I really learned to love myself because of my tantric path and my sexual awakening. Actually, when I came to terms with, wow, what my body can do with orgasms, I was just like, how could I possibly hate this, whatever it looks like? So actually, yeah. So I make a joke about, the fat that holds up the sea, but it really has been an important part of my journey. And so
I'm going to still do my little teaching moment right here.
Yes.
This is something that I too have gone through it, and I've evolved and have developed another level of mastery, and still healing and still moving forward. But we as women have to stop apologizing for who we are, or stop criticizing or start judging who we are, because we are fearfully and wonderfully and beautifully made. And I appreciate that you came back in full circle and saying, I own it. But I want to, I guess, this is me coming off of a retreat. So my mind has been blown. I've quantum leaped. And so since I'm in a new area, there's certain things that I'm not willing to accept in me, and I'm not willing to accept it in another woman. So that's why you saw me respond to her so quick, because I'm like, no, we're not going to accept that, because you are gorgeous. You're absolutely beautiful. I saw that from them. You've got gorgeous eyes. She's got a gorgeous smile, and she's got a gorgeous heart and spirit. And you're going to see that in our interview. And so I am on a powerful mission to almost create this, I almost want to say narcissistic, a loving kind of narcissistic, if that's even possible, attitude.
Ask me about narcissism later. Okay.
Well, in a way where I mean it from a place of a woman is finally at a place where she's going to accept herself unapologetically and without shame or guilt. And believe it or not, I think there's a lot more shame operating than I think I suspected. I always knew it was there because obviously it's my background as a psychologist, but now I'm really seeing it because of everything that's going on here and it's in the world and the pandemic experience. So I just want to hold every woman accountable to their greatness. So we're not going to settle for anything less than our absolute best in ourselves and someone else. So I see you, I witnessed the greatness that's been evolving in you over the past couple of weeks. And so that's pretty awesome. So without us going into a whole lot, we're going to keep because we don't have a lot of time, it's going to run fast, but I do want women to find out a little bit about you. So if you would do me a favor and kind of introduce yourself in 20 seconds and let us know how you show up in the world.
Oh, well, my background is in musical theater. I started in performing arts as a kid and maintained that through my adulthood. I am a now former Broadway journalist. There isn't much of a Broadway scene right now. Unfortunately, I know, right? But on behind the scenes, I've always been interested into yoga. I've always been very physical and very fit, and so we won't go there. But yeah, I had my sexual awakening because I had never orgasmed during sex, and so what I was able to do through my tantric practice was to awaken the inner gifts that are absolutely astounding. I mean, cosmic orgasms, spontaneous orgasms. I can think the word orgasm, and I have never, ever had that experience before. And so then I took my activist side of me, because I've been an activist since I was 13, and started really started being an activist for women's sexual pleasure, that it's not guilty, it's not sinful, it's not wrong, it's not dirty, that your body has so much more capability for orgasms and pleasure than you could even imagine. But we'll leave that there for now because that's so involved. But yeah, so it's just my work as an artist activist is shifting. I now call myself an artist alchemist, that it's not just about being active anymore, because we've been active. We've done the resistance. We're still resisting. We're still fighting, but we need to now learn how to transmute as well. Yes. So it's not just fight, because I've been there. I've worked with the ACLU. I love the ACLU. I've marched with the ACLU. I've been an activist since I was 13, but now it's not just about it is about showing up, and it is about doing your work, because that's part of my soul mission as well. But it's also about learn how to transmute that energy, because darkness cannot drive out darkness, and hate cannot drive out hate. We know who said that, right? It's that, and he was absolutely right, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Only love can do this, and so that's the alchemy part that I'm bringing into my coaching business as I try to bring in all the various things that I do, from tarot and numerology, a spiritual intuitive, a twin flame, and this being on soul mission, healing past lives, as well as awakening the bliss that I think is tamped down in so much of us because of our past lives. So that's really interesting how my journey and my personal journey and my business is now moving toward the relationship between love and sex and money and business, especially for female entrepreneurs.
Beautiful. I think this is, somewhat of a powerful alignment connected to last week when we had Tara Grace on, and she really was talking about kind of the same thing from a different perspective. If there's ever a time for us as women to really tap into that sexual pleasure, that allowing ourselves to understand what pleasure is. So I'll probably ask questions that maybe, obviously with every interview, you want to make sure that your interviewee sends you a few questions so that we can at least get the conversation going. And then I'm going to have my own questions just as well. And if you ladies are having some questions below, I have my phone nearby. I'll definitely check it and make sure that we can offer that. And Trish is in the group, so she'll be able to come back and answer that as well. And the reason why I think this conversation is so powerful and why it's so necessary right now is when we as women, I think sexual pleasure is about a woman learning how to receive. And since we as women really struggle with receiving at such a deep level, we have a hard time receiving from ourselves. We definitely have a hard time receiving from others. It's going to impact how we receive in our business. It's going to impact how we receive in our money. It's going to impact how we even allow ourselves to show up in our femininity, our sensuality, sexuality. It was a long journey for me, because I had a lot of what you were talking about, Trish, all this dogma and all these rules and regulations, and I'm a Scorpio, no less. And that had to be, contained.
I was raised Catholic, and we haven't even talked about religion yet.
We may not go there because that's a whole other conversation. But at the same time, I think, with what's going on in this pandemic, if there's ever a time to tap into power that a woman possesses in loving her body, loving her senses, understanding her sensuality, and then understanding her sexuality, understanding that each of those are very different, but they work powerfully together. Because that's one of the things that I think a lot of women are confused on. So before we get into all those kind of deep conversations, let's start with how did you become a sacred sacred is the word, sacred sex shaman. So sacred and shaman, those are two words you would never think to put together, or sacred sex shaman.
But yes.
Powerful. So real quickly, what is that all about?
Well, for me, the sacred sex is about, and again, please understand, I come to this with no judgment. That this is, see, I don't fit in with all the other sexperts because I have always believed that sex with love is the ultimate experience. And that's the ultimate experience that I've wanted for myself. And again, no judgment. I've had the one night stands. I think we do especially when we're younger, especially in young 20s, it's like, oh, what is this all about? I've been told I can't do this or shouldn't do this. Let me see what I like, right? But what I felt on a deep level, just my intuition, was that there was a deep love that was available to me through sex, through the sexual experience that I had just never experienced before. And I think that in my practice, especially in my awesome program, which is Awakening Energy and Sound Orgasm Meditation, is that I try and it's very difficult, but I can try and convince women, stop using the vibrators, stop watching the porn, because anything that you are relying on that is outside of you is actually hindering your process, your experience, and your body is designed for pleasure. It's actually taking away
your power. Don't people realize
that. It's taking away your power. I mean, have you ever not taken your vibrator because you didn't want to have your bag searched in front of everybody at the airport, and then you go and try and masturbate in your hotel room and you can't get there? It's just like, yeah, I had that experience on a job when I was in Houston. So with the sacred sex is that, first of all, from the tantric perspective, which is the balance of the masculine and feminine, and I wanted that in love. And so the shaman aspect of this is the healer part of me. And what the shaman does is the shaman doesn't see, this is where my life kind of contradicts each other, because on stage, my energy is very projective, and when I do my talk show, my energy is very projective. And I've had to really rein a lot of that in to learn how to stand in my own power, be in my own power, especially sexually. And what shamans do is shamans draw in the power. They're not looking for the power outside of themselves. They're not looking for something outside of themselves to pacify whatever need, to help others. It really is about you draw in the power, and then you let it again transmute. You let the alchemy happen, and then you're able to naturally release what is right and good for you. And you are able to stand in a place that is your power, that is not necessarily your masculine energy. And I hear a lot of people in the divine feminine rising movement, which I disagree with that title as well. I'll do a blog post on it. I won't waste your time here. Because the divine feminines, we never left. We've always been here. So we're not rising. We've always been here. It's just that men are waking up to patriarchy and the toxic masculinity, and they're not stepping on us as much. So that's why they burned us at the stake for hundreds of years. I got plenty of lifetimes with that too. But with the sacred sex shamanism, this is about understanding that even if you're with a friends with benefits person, even if it's yourself, there is love to be had through the sexual and sensual experience. And your body has so much inherent wisdom because your body is literally designed for pleasure. And when you understand that you stand in your own power, lay back in your own power, sit up in your own power, and you allow that pleasure, that bliss that is your birthright, to literally descend in your body and all your cells, and you learn how to transmute that into pleasure in the physical, and you radiate that. You literally radiate that in everything you do. I'm sorry. I love it. This is what I do.
well, and I understand, and I really do, but I also don't. When there's so much coming out, if we don't pause for a minute,
yes,
your sisters may be missing the wisdom that you're giving. And I'm hearing so much wisdom in what you're saying that I want to kind of peel some of the pieces apart, because with everything that's going on in the world, what I think you said that's so powerful and so beautiful is that when we allow ourselves to understand that we've always had it, that's so huge. And what's happened is so many of us have looked outside, or we've been, I don't want to say conditioned, but our circumstances right now have caused us to look outside instead of inside. So we're letting go of our power by focusing out here rather than coming back to home, as Tara said, and coming back to being grounded and centered. So what I call it is, I get an upload. So my higher self, my spirit that's already in me, comes forward and hits my conscious mind. When I get a download, that's God connecting that conscious mind. When there's a connection in between, when there's a PowerPoint, then I can actually let it flow on the outside of me. And so, you're saying the same thing. We got to get back to what we know is already true, already there. However, the flip side, so here's a psychologist that's being a little bit of a devil's advocate saying, a lot of women understand it from the intellectual place of knowing that the power is there. And many of us understand the necessity of it intellectually. But what does that really mean to feel it, to know it, to recognize it, and to allow her to flow inside us? And how do we use our sexuality, sensuality, to maybe bring that forward? I know that's not on your list, but I just think what you just said, we've got to get back to how do we reconnect to this if we really don't understand it from a body perspective? Maybe what about a woman who's been sexually abused and she's disconnected from her body? How does she get back into that? That's important.
Okay, so several things that you just, my Libra brain is just going, when I got to respond to everything. Okay, number one, the word use. If you start to use the word utilize instead of use, you won't feel used. The concept that we have in our conversation of, well, how do you use this? Well, use has a negative connotation of being ripped off. You are gullible. You're stupid. Yeah. How do we utilize this? Because then this power is a tool, right? And then even the word tool has been taken by society to mean something not. But it's a tool.
That's huge because
it's in your arsenal.
Power back.
We have power back.
I have permission I have authority to utilize this the way I choose to, rather than somebody doing it to me.
It is a tool in your toolbox. It is a technique in your arsenal. It is not you. It is not you using someone else. It is not someone else using you, being used by you. And to get to another point that you made, it's why are we even giving our power away? It's because of culture, social media, advertising, whether that is TV, magazines, what is it like women would see like 400 negative ads a day telling you how you need to change yourself in order to be accepted in society. And then when you add in politics, local community and what they think is good, bad, right, wrong, pretty, acceptable, polite. I'm from the South, so polite society, but then religion, we won't go into that, so it's just, okay, how can I utilize this energy to feel this? Number one, getting back to, you have to get back to your body. Again, if you're relying on the porn, and I have asked an Ask Trish segment of my blog where people send me questions, and one woman, she said, I can only watch one piece of porn and I can only orgasm to that. I can't orgasm to anything else, not with my husband, blah, blah, blah. You must get back into your body, because it's not that erotica is bad. It can be very beautiful, not Pornhub, but it can be, erotica can be very beautiful and it can be very sensual. But when you're relying on that for your experience, that's when I've given my power away. So what I do in my awesome program, which is on sale for half off right now, it's a solstice special, is that I teach you how to awaken your body, and you don't even have to use your genitals. Your genitals are actually the last part of this, even if you want to touch them. And that's how
your largest sex organ is not your genitals, and it's not even your skin. Your largest sex organ is
your heart.
No.
Yeah.
Biologically, it's your brain.
Biologically, it's your brain. But really and truly, but from
an energy perspective, you're absolutely right. It's your heart.
Yeah,
but
it's your heart.
From a biological perspective, it's your brain.
It is your brain. Yes, of course. Biologically,
you're talking to a scientist. Come on.
It was a trick answer because I wanted you to think about that, because other women have the problem of they're too much in their head. Libra, and even as a Scorpio, I mean, you may be like really, really into your body and everything, but then you might, I don't remember I don't want to say negative aspects of Scorpio, because we all have the aspects of our sign that, Libra talking too much. That's where you might be in a Scorpio may want so much sex or be controlling in the sex, and that's how do you release that control? So with my
balance of understand, and that's really the goal that you're talking about, is it's time to give yourself permission to have a balance in every single area so that it flows much more easily and effortlessly and continuously. And there's something very beautiful of the rhythmic, if you guys are that rhythmic, because I believe Tantra talks, I don't know a lot about Tantra. I'm aware of it. I've never studied it enough. But, when I worked with couples, because I think most of you know I worked as a marriage family therapist, and so my expertise is in the areas of sexual abuse and trauma. So from childhood all the way to adulthood, and the most extreme kinds of cases, I've pretty much have heard everything under the sun, and have learned how to work with. Yeah, it's kind of sad, but I've also learned a great deal, even about my own sensuality and sexuality, because of it. You can sometimes look at others and see where you're closed off, because that's the thing. And one of the things that I would love to talk to you about is when someone is in the place of having gone through a trauma, we shut that part of ourselves off. And sometimes it's hard to reactivate it, and we fall into the only way I can activate it, which is, so as soon as you talk about the client of she can only do it through porn, I says, I bet you anything, there's trauma in there somewhere.
Absolutely.
There's trauma in there somewhere.
Yes. And that's why I have always been more toward the lovey-dovey aspect of sex, even if it's solo or friends with benefits, as in outside of a loving relationship. Is because, for instance, BDSM, every person that I've asked of who they say they love BDSM, they like being tied up or they like the pain and whatever, I ask them, have you ever experienced sexual trauma or sexual abuse? And every one of them has said yes. I was like, okay, well, there's no judgment, but there are ways to experience pleasure, because what I have studied is that pain and pleasure are in the same part of the brain. Right. So if you can learn, let's say, without touching your genitals, like in my program, you don't have to touch your genitals. You awaken the physical body. You're awakening your own subtle body, your own energetic system, your nadis, meridians, and all that jazz. And then you do the healing, remove the blocks in the chakra system. And in the tantric system, there are actually like 72,000 chakras, not just the six main. The main at the central channel, you have 6 chakras, and then you have the crown, which is not a chakra, it's a lotus. But the idea of Tantra is about balancing the masculine and the feminine. And we have such an imbalance. And we have an imbalance of toxic masculine, wounded feminine. And then we have wounded masculine and toxic feminine. And then you really don't know which way, where do I go? How do I heal, solve any of this? And it's so helpful to just get away from social media and to come back into yourself, because a lot of people actually don't know what they think or feel about anything at this point, because they have so much coming at them. You got to clear your cache. Delete those cookies in your own damn brain. Right?
That's what I got to remember that one. Clear your own cache.
Right?
So, I was looking online to see if there are any questions from the ladies. So, ladies, if there are any questions here, I have to admit that this is a little bit richer and deeper conversation that I am grateful that we're having, and I think we need to have it, because with so much of us right now are in fear and anger and worry and confusion, that we have forgotten what it really means to be in pleasure. And that pleasure actually births something very beautiful at every single turn. And so, this whole concept of you're experiencing pain, and you're either moving towards one or the other, either pain or pleasure in your personal life, in your business, or even in your body. And so now you're talking about, hey, let's acknowledge all of these pieces and allow all of them come back to center. So from your perspective, with everything that's going on in the world, how do we help our women in this group who are striving to become more powerful? How do we help them reconnect to their center through their sensuality and their sexuality?
Well, one of the things that I just want to go back to briefly is that if you've not heard of me before, you've not read my blog, then you haven't read how I was sexually abused as a child by a neighbor for 2 years, but my abuser was female. So I've actually had people say to my face, "Oh, your abuser was female, well then that's not so bad then." You know, I would, and because of that experience,
sorry.
Exactly. And because of that experience, I was terrified of sex. I was terrified of men. And again, raised Catholic. So that whole, you're going to hell because of premarital sex, you're going to hell because of gays, you were a child lesbian, you know. And so anyway, so my first experience of a penis inside me was rape when I was 21. So I have a lot of compassion because I've been through all of this. And people see how much I talk about sex and orgasm, and it's wonderful, and think, oh, well, you haven't experienced that. No, I have. It's just that I've done my healing. And so my point is that it's possible. It is possible.
Yes.
But here's the thing, is that it's not probably not just this lifetime. There's past lifetime stuff that you probably have to heal as well. And so it's clearing this karma, clearing the energy fields. And the thing is like what we were just talking about with and being in pain and pleasure and what's going on right now. A lot of people may feel guilty feeling pleasure in a time of so much strife.
That's very true. It's very,
feeling
very
like
true.
you go to a funeral and then have sex that night, then you feel guilty. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe we're having sex when somebody was in the coffin. We put him in the ground, you know. You know, it's just, I'm Irish. We sing songs about people dying. So
it's actually a part of psychology. I mean, we actually learned it in school that when there is a high trigger, it's going to do one of two things. It's either going to trigger you and all the losses that you've experienced. When someone else has gone through a loss, it's going to trigger your loss. And you're going to self-medicate in some sort of way. You're either going to disconnect, detached, or you're going to work really hard, or you're going to fall into some sort of addiction, whether it's food, sex, TV, whatever, something like that's going to happen. And 9 times out of 10, it's because we've gotten so disconnected from, okay, let's come back to me. Let's come back to source. Let's come back to God. That's my first preference, is I come back to God. I come back to God within me. Then I come back to me. Let me get back to, like you said earlier, powerfully and beautifully, is how do we get back to our body? This is why right now, I keep saying this over and over again, because I believe this with every ounce of blood in my body that's keeping me alive, that June, July, and August is our necessary, undeniable time of coming back to center. We've got to reset ourselves right now, because another big hit's coming. And if you're not grounded on what's absolutely true for me, where am I actually going to go? What am I going to do? How am I going to live my life? What am I going to put, what strategies and implementations and inner circles and all these things, if I don't put that in place in the next 90 days, when this whole thing hits again, and it will, because that's
September, October.
Actual course of when, we start to have, cold season kicks in, and that's going to last from September to March. That's a long period of time for all of us to be in our crazy, which is why now is the time to get as grounded as you can. So I personally appreciate this conversation right behind what we talked about last week, because I think we have forgotten what pleasure is. So my question to you is, what is pleasure? And can you define it holistically?
For me, pleasure is allowing my body's natural innate abilities to feel bliss, to allow my body to teach me to get out of my head and think I know everything, which is just our egoic structure that we're taught to have. And to
I'm just teasing.
Right. I can do everything. I can do anything. But it's because that was my upbringing too. Again, private schools and everything. Yeah. Is that if you're not the leader, you're the follower, that kind of mentality. So you got to be in charge, and you got to lead the way. And so we bring that into the bedroom, even if it's just us. And so for me, I define, maybe I can put it this way. In my program and in my work, I differentiate between climax, which is clitoral, and the sympathetic nervous system, and orgasm, which is the parasympathetic nervous system, which is this pure bliss. So think of it as you're working your clit, right? That's going to be a lot of work. That's why women use vibrators, right? Because that's a lot of work. It actually doesn't have to be. It can be super simple. It can be super light. You can just like literally, have your legs wide open and let the air from the ceiling fan bring you to climax. It can actually happen. I do it a lot. But then the idea is that orgasm is the wave. So if you think of climax is the work, climax is the explosion outward. So you're doing all this work to project outwards, and it dies off like that. But orgasm is the wave of bliss, and it can last forever, and it's self-stimulating. And I mean itself, you don't have to do it. I would lay in bed for like 4 hours, just have orgasm after orgasm after orgasm once I understand what true orgasm is, because it's me, and it's like recycling and recharging my own battery, you know. So that's how I differentiate.
I am going to stop you. I am going to stop you because, one, you need to breathe. I do think you need to breathe. And two, I want to be very aware of the women in the group, because I think these are conversations that a lot of women don't have anymore. And it kind of breaks my heart that we're not having these kind of opportunities to have these kind of discussions, because if there's ever a time for us to get back into our holistic sense of self, so that we can heal, because what you're talking about is there's a part of you that's probably missing, and how you do one thing is how you do everything. And if you miss this part of your sensuality, your sexuality, and your ability to receive pleasure, I promise you, it's impacting other areas of your life, and probably even impacting your money. So I want to slow us down a little bit, because this conversation is rich enough that I want them to hear and feel what you're saying, because I think so. I can feel the group going click, 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 shutting off. And don't apologize. I'm just wanting us to say there's so much here that we want to make sure that a woman understands what we're trying to get you, at least, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Trish, what I think you're trying to help us understand, you being the expert in this field, is that now is the time to understand the beauty of who we are in our sensuality and in our sexuality.
Yes. And just what you were talking about is kind of what I'm sorry, I interrupted. No. There's a little bit of a lag. There's a little bit of a lag.
Oh, is there? Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Is that what I have noticed is that there's a huge disconnect between women and our bodies, obviously, because we don't love our bodies because of media and ads and whatever. But there's also this, what I have noticed in my own clients and the people who write into my blog, is that women who are not fulfilled sexually, sensually, and those are two different experiences.
Two different experiences.
They're the best when they go together, but the sexually and sensually, they're usually not fulfilled in other areas of their life, especially their money, their business, or if they work for other people, the pay that they make, the benefits that they get, the vacation, that time, that kind of thing. And so what I see is that women who are not fulfilled sexually, sensually, they do usually one of two things in the outside the bedroom, is that they are either I don't want to say doormat in other ways, in other aspects of their life, but they don't stand for their own power. They don't stand in their own sovereignty, or they go the toxic masculine route. Yeah. It's like, I am going to make so much money. I'm going to prove myself. I'm going to do all the way up the corporate ladder. I'm going to show. And it's just like, we don't have to do that, because actually, yes, most of us do have this very feminine side, this very masculine side. You have your Eden, the Pingala sides of you, but your power as a woman does not come from your masculine side. Your power as a woman comes from your Shakti. And the men's true power, men's true power comes from Shakti as well. Because see, the masculine is all about do and make and go and achieve and succeed and get that trophy and get that status and make that income and get that house in that neighborhood and drive that car. And women, our power is actually sitting back, chill the fuck out, and let this come to us. You know, this is the weirdest thing. You haven't asked me about this, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you, is that the weirdest thing is that I have noticed that when I post less on social media, I get more interaction. I was that person that I was posting on everything all the time. I was watching all the analytics and the metrics, and I was exhausted. And the thing is that people weren't commenting much. They weren't contacting me. And I was so tired, I just stopped. And I noticed that then people started contacting me, because then I wasn't popping up in their feed. They were contacting me. They were contacting me to say, hey, Trish, what's going on?
Let's take this a little further, or at least in my mind. So the other thing that I think is so powerful about what you're saying is when I'm a firm believer of the balance of all things. And I'm a firm believer that there's an order to life. There's an order to how the universe works. There's an order to seasons. There's an order to day, night. Everything has its order, and it knows how to flow easily, effortlessly every single day, every single minute, second, hour, day, week, month, year. It's constant. And if you sit back and watch it, it's a beautiful evolution, my personal opinion. So I'm saying that because with what Trish just said about allowing, you said a particular phrase that I wanted to grab and my brain just dropped it. Oh, good grief. What was that phrase? I rarely do this, but I'm doing it right now. This idea of, I guess what I'm trying to say is when you are in your feminine and you slow down to connect, your intuition, I think, actually sharpens. And then, so your pleasure, your intuition, your sensuality, your sexuality, your spirituality, your femininity, all of that stuff plays together. And I think one of the fastest ways to increase it, I almost became a sex therapist. I know a lot of what you're talking about. I'm like, I just didn't know a lot of the Tantra side because I didn't know that was even out there until I got out of being a therapist. I'm like, wait, there's a whole nother section I didn't know about?
Oh, yeah. Mm. Yeah.
There's who's a Shakti? That's what I said. It's a part of, that makes sense. So all these little things. But I guess with everything that's going on, when you're sad, when you're depressed, when you're hurting, when you're in grief, when you're in shame, when you're in guilt, it's because you've disconnected from pleasure. And I think it's also because you disconnected from your intuition. And like you said, Trish, we were designed to give and receive. We're the whole package. Yes. We receive a man and we give from our breast to our children. So there's a giving and receiving in our design. And we're so disconnected from it. I know I have to admit, I'm going to be very transparent. I was for years because of my own sexual trauma. And it took me a long time to heal that. And then to the confusion of knowing I'm this intense, powerful creature as a Scorpio. And then I'm raised in this very tight, closed, legalistic, dogmatic kind of family. And I'm going between the two, like going Wah!
Yeah.
I became a therapist and went, it started to make sense. And then of course, that's when I realized I had been, abused as a child and all those little stories that came up and the evolutionary, and let me just be honest, I think you never fully learn this because we've been in it for so long. As much as I am grateful that she's telling you about her program, and those are programs, and there are all these different kinds of teachers who are out there to help you. You have to understand this is an evolutionary process. This to clear and transmute the past story is a process. You probably have to go through it every single decade. I personally think every decade we should learn how to receive again. We should learn how to have sex again. We should learn how to be sensual again. Someone should teach us those things so we're constantly evolving into our higher self because when people say bliss, it tickles me because I'm like, I don't know if we can get bliss in our human form. I think bliss is so divine that you have to surrender a great deal to get there. And I don't know if a lot of people do it. That's just my personal opinion. Maybe I've been a therapist for too long and I haven't met anyone who's really ever in bliss. I hear a lot of conversations about it. I just haven't seen it yet. So,
but if you understand that orgasm is the fastest way to get to God, that is the fastest way to have that bliss experience of divinity.
There's some conversations that people say that. I'm not sure if I agree yet, but okay.
Well, on my blog, I blogged about my cosmic, or I call it my big cosmic orgasm. The first one I ever had, I blogged about it because it was just so life shattering. It literally, I felt like I exploded into a million pieces, and I felt like I was just going faster than the speed of light. And like my arms were like reaching on the side of the beds, but then like my arms went out and I could feel the edges of infinity. It was the most incredible experience. And the thing is that I had an astral experience back in 2002, 2003, where I actually, in the astral, I rejoined source energy and felt absolute, pure, unconditional love. So when I experienced that through this orgasm,
I definitely believe people can have that, because I've had those kind of, I know I've just experienced God moments in a very powerful out of body experience, because your body can't contain that kind of power. My personal, I think it's too
not yet. That's where we're going though. That's where we're going.
That's where I hope we're going, is we get to the point where this body that, remember, we're a spiritual being in a human body having human experiences. So our human body's experiencing limitations where our spiritual sense of self never has limitations. We tend to reach the limit on a regular basis.
But here, I think too that this is where the natural inherent wisdom of the body is, that the body is trying to lead us to the experiences, and that's why we keep having the one night stands, right? We keep having we know instinctually that there is power in these experiences, but the experiences that we're having through porn, through one night stands, through promiscuous sex, which again, no judgment, that's just what it's called, friends with benefits, even is that and I think instinctively our body knows that this is a viable path to experience this, but you're not gonna get there if somebody is not at the same level as you in understanding what that bliss really is.
And that's interesting, because I listen to that and go, is it really our body that knows that, or is it really our spirit that knows that, and it's trying to channel itself through our body because it has no other form to channel it through?
No, but our spirit chose this body on purpose. Our spirit chose this body, this family, our astrology, what name we were going to be given, that this body was chosen on purpose. This is our Merkaba. This is our vehicle, right? So our spirit wasn't stupid. Our spirit came in and said,
that's what I just said, is that our spirit's the one that makes the decision to come through our body. The problem is most of us haven't been taught the right way, or taught it the pure way. I mean, that's a better word.
Because we don't have our women's circles anymore. Years ago, I used to be a part of a historical reenactment society. So there was lots of belly dancing and this kind of thing. We would have haflas, and I would host hen parties and hens. So it was a bunch of women, and we would get together, and some women drummed and some played instruments, and the rest of us, we would just like potluck, and we would bring food and we would dance. And this is
gatherings, what I call them.
Yes, this is where you learned about your body. Young girls would listen about, oh my God, I was in labor for 37 hours, giving birth. That you learned about your body. And part of belly dancing, it really is goddess dancing, And so there's so much wisdom that we've lost, because when women, it's like, okay, when you get married, you go live with your husband. You live with your husband's family. It becomes a very masculine situation, unlike in matriarchal matrilineal societies where the man moves in with the woman. It's just like we've lost our connection to our women's circles, to sing and to dance and tell our stories and share our experiences. And for our girls, I have a daughter, for our girls to grow up hearing that it's okay to love your body and experience your body through dance, experience your body through singing, and experience your body through sensuality and bliss.
It's kind of very sad that I think that's why even with the women's circles that we're having, there's still this need to make it masculine, because we're dealing with business, we're dealing with networking, we're dealing with all this other stuff. And we've just forgotten to have those which is why I keep saying in here as well, who's in your inner circle? Who are the sisters you can take your mask off with? You can let your hair down with. You can have that ugly kind of cry, because that they're gonna love you unconditionally. They can be with you in the fun. Who's the sisters that you can be in your worst, and they will still unconditionally pull you through? I mean, I've got a few of those girlfriends, and I thank God for them, because sometimes I just know I would have survived, and I don't know if the male partners or the men in your life can actually understand this deep level that a woman goes through, this beautiful metamorphosis that she goes through in sisterhood, which is what we've got to get. I would love to see us as women get back to. I know a few women who are leading these kinds of circles. They're not out here. They're all in Canada. I'm like, why are you guys so far away from me? They're all in Canada. So we need someone to start them out here in the United States, because that would be so powerful to have that kind of experience again. So we're coming down to a close, Trish. Tell us, how can everyone get a hold of your awesome program? I know it's in the description above, but I would love for you to share as well. How can they get a hold of the awesome program that you're offering right now, or any other way that they can reach you and get your material?
Well, the best way to get a hold of me is through my website, trishcausey.com. The awesome program, it's AWESOM. There's no E at the end. So it's Awakening Energy and Sound Orgasm Meditation. So trishcausey.com/awesome. But if you just go to my website, it's linked, it's right there on the front page. And again, it's half off right now, but the link for getting it half off is not there. You have to just message me for that. But it's I believe in this program so much, and I'm actually restructuring my entire coaching business around this connection between love, sex, money, and business, because something we haven't even talked about, and maybe we could do this another time, is this connection between the idea of like Venus rules love and money, right? And so the idea of women standing in our power with love and standing in our power with money, but traditionally throughout patriarchal history is that when women stand in their power with sex and money, you're a prostitute. And so where can we heal our past lives? Again, where can we heal the past and where we have been as women? I think most people, if you're a woman, I think you incarnate a lot as a feminine, as a woman. So you have not been in control of your finances most of your incarnations. And so you're bringing that into this lifetime. So how can we heal that past so that you can heal your here and now and then be successful? I see the tie between now and the past lives when it comes to money and sex and love and relationships and business.
I love that, because I know what in the upcoming Power Her Influence program, we're dedicating a whole section just to that. So it's like we need to look at your past situation and look at your relationship with men and money, and all of this stuff needs to be transmuted so that you can move to the next level, because the future needs us. The future needs us as women to become wealthy so that we can share and nurture in a healthier, empowered kind of way rather than a needy way. So I thank you so much for a very rich, very deep conversation. There are many layers to this. We probably could have several more conversations.
Yes.
Because I personally want to get more of us as women very comfortable with our sensuality, our sexuality, and allowing ourselves to have the pleasure, so that, because I think once we relax in it, we become more magnetic and attracting the things that we want, and then we can go home and make the changes that need to be made in our family, community, and the world. And it's been in me for years. I've just been kind of ignoring it because that's what everyone else told me to do. And I finally said, well, when I don't ignore her, she actually makes me rich. But when I do ignore her, she makes me poor. So let me watch her for a while, see what she does. And I'm like, oh, look at what happens. Yeah, you just stay forward. Let's let you just come forward in a more beautiful, powerful kind of way. And I'm attracting coaches who are in that and witnessing their own evolution and tapping into my own evolution. And I was saying a couple of weeks ago, you said belly dancing earlier. I actually was taking, earlier in the year, my roommate and I were taking a belly dancing class. And on the way home, I started this in the training that I did on Saturday. I was in the car and I was really quiet, which is, rare. But I was in the car and I was quiet. She goes, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm just in tears because I felt my body like awaken. Like I actually felt what you were talking about earlier, that whole blissness kind of come through it and just going, it felt alive. And I think with so much hurt and pain, and there's still, if you really think about it, everybody, there's still this energy of death from the coronavirus that's kind of hovering over the earth. And so coming back to our bodies, coming back to pleasure, coming back to this sense of our sensuality. So your sensuality has to do with all of your senses, and your sexuality has to do with your femininity of who you are as a woman, so your gender to some degree. And so this conversation, I think, is so rich because this is the time to activate this more as we move forward and we can get back to our place of grounded. So Trisha, thank you. Keep saying Trisha, because I know so many Trish and Trishas. It's like David. I know a lot of
we're coming out of the woodwork right now. I don't know.
I think I can name 5 of you. I think I know 5. I've never known that many before, but now I know like 5 of you, and 2 are in my family now.
Oh, wow.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. So with all that being said, thank you so much for being so bold, so open, so honest, so passionate. I think we've lost that passion somewhere, and you demonstrate it very, very beautifully. And the elegance and the excitement. It's okay to be excited and to be alive and vibrant the way you're demonstrating. And I think that's what I'm taking away from this conversation with you. Like, it's okay to be this alive and present. So thank you for being a powerful example of that today.
Be bold, be fearless, because when I was a kid, I was always told by authority figures, you're too loud, you're too visible, sit down, be quiet, don't flit around, you're like, well, why are you paying for dance lessons? It's just really. Everything that I am right now, they try to beat out of me, to rape out of me, to squish out of me somehow. And it didn't work, because this is who I truly am. Right. And this is what is so freeing about all of this, is that when you really get in touch with who you really are through your body, through sensuality, is that you tap into aspects of you that the world has tried to say, no, you're too much, and you take up too much space.
I'll end with this, because I don't know if Trish is going to give me permission to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway, since she did that to me. But from the outside, I've been able to witness her evolution. Just right now, the beginning, it looks like the beginning process, because we have our own private conversations as friends, as sisters, and she's gone through her own journey. But then recently I saw her buy the car of her dreams. She just told her she's now buying her new apartment, and I'm like, that's because she's gone back to herself. And when you get clear, if you can hear the language that she's using, you can see the energy that's coming from her. And I keep saying this, when you become that clear, that you activate, because my sensuality and sexuality may look very different than hers, but at the same time, you can see that evolution taking place, because her life is changing. Her life is being transformed. She's obviously attracting a higher level of money. That's why she's got the successes, and she's expanding. Because from my word, it's not even just expanding. I think you're ascending. And I think ascending is better than expanding. My personal opinion. So I see you, I witness you, and I applaud you, and thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much.
To be here today and having this very rich and deep conversation. I'm looking forward to seeing how many of you will comment and be bold and brave enough to say, I got some questions. Let this be I want this to be a safe place for all of us to take off our masks, to ask for help. Your greatest strength is your ability to say, I'm not strong here, I need help. I mean, even I had to be held accountable on, there's a part of my life that I don't ask help for. And I got lovingly called to the carpet by my friends and said, thank you very much for reminding me that it's okay to ask for help, because that's not something that I do in this particular area of my life. So, here's an expert who is in our group, who's here to help you blossom and come to your sensual sexual bliss, so that you can, as a woman, magnetize a higher level of success. So I see that, I witness that in you, and I'm excited. I should be able to get the program for free, but I'm just saying.
But if you want it, you let me know. The thing is that this is my soul mission. This is literally one of the three main reasons that I incarnated this lifetime. And getting my butt on soul mission, life just opens up. Opportunities open up, and things fall into place. And I have always experienced that when I follow what I truly want and what makes me happy, magic happens, because I am magic. And I've had energy healers tell me, you've got magic in your veins. I'm like, yeah, I know. I am magic. I am magic. I love that. And each of us has that capability. So we won't go into another hour, but yes to everything.
And I think I really do hope all of you will be bold enough to ask her or myself any kind of questions that you need, because our passion, if you can see and hear, is I want you, Trish wants you, we want you to heal and become unlimited, to remove those limitations that are holding you back from being the woman you're supposed to be, reaching the potential you're supposed to reach, and having the experience you're supposed to have, so that in that you can go back home and change your husband, change your partner, change your children, change your dog, change your cat, change your fish, change your neighborhood, change the world. And then that's when I think we can usher in a whole nother level of evolution and transformation that's like nothing before. With that being said, Trisha, thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Anita. Thank you. I appreciate it. Y'all take care. I love y'all.
Much love, everybody. Have a great week. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.